Hello everyone, welcome to Control Systems Lectures. In today's lecture, I am going to discuss about steady state analysis for control systems. So till now we have seen that we studied about transient analysis for the control systems. Now we are going to deal with steady state analysis. So first of all, what is steady state? Steady state is attaining a state of equilibrium in such a way that there are going to be no changes with respect to time to any of the system's variables. Okay, so the system, if it maintains the equilibrium, then unless and until any change or disturbance occurs in the system, then we will say that the system has attained steady state. So for example, if you want to drive a vehicle at some particular speed, say 40 kmph, you want to drive a vehicle at 40 kilometer per hour. So, okay, then so what happens? What exactly happens? As soon as you start the vehicle, the speed of the vehicle won't suddenly rise to 40 kmph. It will take some time to reach this speed. Okay, it won't suddenly rise to 40 kmph. So it will become 0, 10, 20, 30 and so on. So after it achieves this 40 kilometer per hour, and if you are letting the system stay at that very state only, then that state will be known as the steady state for the system. And now if you want to change, now suppose some change occurs, or if now you start accelerating the vehicle and now you want that the system or your vehicle should suppose run at 50 kmph, then you accelerate the system. Again there are going to be some transients in the system, and finally the system will attain the constant speed of 50 kmph. So this equilibrium, when this is set, then you say that the system has achieved the steady state. And till now what we had studied, till now we saw the effects and behavior of transient response analysis. And for transient response, you had seen that you analyze the system in terms of rise time, in terms of peak time, in terms of peak overshoot. Okay, you define the transient response in these terms. Now the way you look at transient response and the steady state response, that is going to be totally different. And you must have observed that in case of transient response, let me draw it. Like if you have this underdamped system, and this is the output for underdamped system. When second order underdamped system, when you apply unit step input to it, okay, this is the output. Suppose this output is actually showing the transient response for the for a control system. Let me take simpler example, that of an ammeter. Okay, so in ammeter, you all know that ammeter it actually measures the current in any circuit. So if you have got an analog ammeter, it will have some pointer in it, okay, and it will have the scale where you can see that what is the current that is being what is the amount of current that is flowing in the circuit. Suppose the output current that the current that is flowing in the circuit, it is 2 ampere. So when the circuit is turned on, when the switch is turned on, then this pointer, which initially if it is at 0 position, it won't suddenly go to this value. It won't suddenly come at this value. It will oscillate and then finally it will settle at this position. And the graph of this can be shown like like that we see for underdamped system. So in ammeter, when we consider the transient response, we will talk about what is the rise time, what is the peak time, what is this peak overshoot, etc. But had you noticed that we did not we did not consider the steady state error. We did not consider the error during the transients. Sorry about steady state. We did not talk about errors during the transients. Whereas when you see this curve, if you see this curve and compare it with what should be the final output, like if 2 ampere is flowing through the circuit, okay, if the ammeter has to read 2 ampere, but during the transients you can see that this this pointer can move to 3 ampere or 4 ampere, and then it comes back to 1 ampere, and then it again goes. So if you see that if this will be this should indicate the final steady state, which should say that it should be 2 ampere, but during the transients this can shoot up to 3 ampere, and it can also reduce to 1 ampere, and so on. Okay, so there are large differences, large errors in the system, but you did not consider those. You were not really concerned about those errors. So what we want to say is that when we are talking about transients, we are not really concerned about errors during the transient analysis. Actually, for all systems there are some tolerances which can be accepted for a finite duration of time, but if it goes beyond that, then that can become a problem. Suppose you are dealing with currents, okay, then during the transients, suppose you are dealing with currents, and if I want to draw a graph of some current, okay, it's something like this, then suppose maybe the maximum allowable current, it's only 5 ampere, but then suddenly suddenly the current shoots to 10 ampere only for a little while, and then it again drops down. Okay, then we say that even this 10 ampere can be tolerated, but in what condition? The condition is that this 10 ampere should be tolerated only for this few seconds. If this 10 ampere, if this value continues to be in the system, then it may cause the system to fail. Okay, so when we will deal with the steady state analysis, what it really means that that the system has attained equilibrium. Example, when this 2 ampere current has to flow, or ammeter has to indicate this 2 ampere, okay, when these transients die out, then at the steady state you want that system, this ammeter should indicate 2 ampere. So here what you will see, that we won't talk about time based parameters when we study about steady state analysis. Instead we are going to talk about the errors. Okay, like if 2 ampere is flowing, but what if the indicator, what if this indicator, this pointer is actually indicating 2.2 ampere instead of 2 ampere, or what if it is indicating some 2.5 ampere? Okay, so now this 2.5 ampere can be of our concern. This was not a concern in transient response, where the current actually it shooted to 5 ampere also, where this where this pointer it indicated even 5 ampere earlier, but now during the steady state, if it is showing 2.5 ampere, then we will say that okay, final steady state there is a difference of 0.5 ampere. So this is where we will look for the accuracy for the system. During the transients, you are not concerned about accuracy of the system. But here you will see that the system accuracy is of our concern, and depending on different systems, the level of accuracy required, it can vary. Like for example, for defense missiles or for satellite launching, it is important, it is of prime importance that you get the maximum accuracy. but for other systems the accuracy it may be compensated for. And then how to define accuracy? Then it can be defined as accuracy can be defined in terms of error. So more is the error, lesser the system will have the accuracy, and vice versa. So let me again define error in the system. I am going to define the error in the system. A good control system is the one in which the output that you get, it should actually follow the input. Then we say that the control system is a good control system. Hence, the error, it can be defined as the difference of input and output. Okay, error will be defined as the difference of input and output. And if you want to talk about steady state, okay, then we'll talk about steady state error. Okay, what is the error during the steady state? So we'll denote error during steady state as E subscript SS. That is how you denote steady state error. Okay. At steady state, when do you call a system to reach steady state? In transient response analysis also we were saying that when this time it becomes infinite, or we said that we call steady state time, and we treat time tending to infinite as the steady state time. So actually we have to consider this condition only. When time tends to infinite, we say that the system has attained steady state. Like in case of ammeter also, if we are considering this ammeter, then we say that the steady state will be reached when time reaches infinite. Now this infinite will also vary, like it may be only within a minute or few it can reach this 2 ampere. So that minute will be treated as infinite for steady state. Okay. So when I am talking about ESS, I say that when time tends to infinite, then my system is achieving steady state. Or I will say that this, if error is ET, then this time tending to infinite, what is the error during when time is tending to infinite, then this will be the steady state error. This will be steady state error of the system. Okay. Now you must have studied final value theorem. Okay. Final value theorem, it relates time and S domain, and it's written in this final value theorem, it is written as ET, if T it tends to infinite, then in S domain you write as SFS, where S tends to 0. This is your final value theorem. So with this concept in our mind, we'll move forward. So we'll talk about the control system. Let us take a very general control system. A generic control system, we'll have input. Generic closed loop system we are going to talk about. So we have input, then we have forward gain followed by output. If you want to take feedback, then this will be feedback gain path. Here we have input, here we have output. If I want to take negative feedback, then this is going to be the negative feedback. Then what is the error? So you define error over here. You will define error over here. This signal which is coming out of here, this is the error signal. So error is actually the difference between input and the output that you are taking. That is what is your error of the system. So we have to define what in terms of these gain parameters, we will define that how can we represent error. So what is error from here? If you want to say that what is the error, what you can see from here, this error coming here, okay, this is actually the subtraction of input R minus this is coming from here. Okay, so this minus this is what C multiplied by H, so this is CH. So error is actually R minus CH. Or I can write this as, what is C? What is this C? This C is nothing but E multiplied by G. This signal E, error signal, that if you multiply it with G, then that is C. So I can write it as R minus G into C into H. Sorry, G into E into H. Okay, so from here I can take E common, I can take this on this side, so I can take E common, it will become E 1 plus GH, that is equal to R, or I can write E as equal to R divided by 1 plus GH. Okay, this is the function of error. Of course, this is in Laplace domain, so I'll write ES, RS, GS and HS. Now, here what we had seen, if you want to represent error for any system in time domain we say that the steady state is reached when time tends to infinite. So here we say that this is where time is tending to infinite, then the steady state is reached, and we have to find out what is the error during the steady state. So if time domain we are saying that time is tending to infinite, then for frequency domain we will say whatever function of Es that we have to multiply it by S, and we have to say that when S tends to 0, what is the value of this? That will be my steady state error. That is going to be my steady state error. So here we have got the expression of Es. Okay, this Es, the steady state error will be defined as limit S tending to 0. We will multiply it by S. From here only you can see multiplied this expression by S. So multiply the expression by S into whatever expression that you are getting over here. This is my error, GS into HS. This is actually the equation or the expression of error for any system, for any control system. And from here what we can say that this error, this steady state error, it is, you can actually see that it is a function of input as well as system. It is the function of both the input and the system, GSHS. Okay, so error, it can be due to input or it can be due to system. These two are systems parameters. यहाँ पे देखें, ये आपका सिस्टम बनाता है, GH ये सिस्टम के पैरामीटर है, so these two are systems parameter, or the error can be due to the input. Okay, and this GSHS is what? This is the open loop transfer function. This is the open loop transfer function. Now let me make this clear to you. Now let me make this clear to you. You can have different control systems. You can have a control system which looks like this. Okay, what is this? If you have this kind of control system, what is this? Here you can see that the output is not affecting the input. Okay, so this you call it as open loop system. This is your open loop system. Then you have seen a system like this, GS output, this is the feedback part, and then you can have this HS. Okay, what is this? This you call it as closed loop system. Okay, this you call it as closed loop system. Now what I'm doing next, I am taking this system only, this closed loop system, this is GS. Okay, and now I am not, what if I don't connect it over here? Or in other words, I say that this closed loop system, I am opening it. Okay, I am not connecting it, hence this is no more a closed loop system. I am opening this. So what I am doing, I am opening a closed loop system. This we call as open loop or let me say that I am not connecting it, okay, then what is going to be, if I want to see the transfer function of this, if I have not connected this, then this is going, if the multiplication of these two will be taken, and that will be GS into HS, and this is what I'll call as the open loop, because I have opened this loop, open loop transfer function. Okay, this I'll call it as an open loop transfer function of what? This is the open loop transfer function of a closed loop system. This is the lamest way I can explain this. Okay, when you open any closed loop function, then the transfer function that you have, actually this is nothing but the product of the forward gain and the feedback path. So if you have any closed loop transfer function or closed loop system, and if you just multiply the product of the forward gain path and the feedback path, then that will be considered, that will be said as the open loop transfer function of a closed loop system. So this is known as OLTF, and remember, this is different from this open loop system. We are not talking about open loop system. Open loop transfer function OLTF can only be defined for closed loop systems. Okay, so this is the product of forward gain, feedback path. It's very useful in various cases to predict the various parameters of control system. Thus we define this product of GSHS as the OLTF or closed loop transfer function, or the CLTF, and this is only for closed loop system, not for open loop system. So now before we again one thing, now before we study the errors, one more term is very important for us, and that is type of the system. Type of system. Okay, now this type of system, again this is going to be defined only for OLTF, that is open loop transfer function. Only for open loop transfer functions we will define the type of the system, and this type of the system, it is defined as the total number of poles, that is total number of poles at the origin of an OLTF. So if you have an open loop transfer function, how many number of poles are lying at the origin, that is going to be the type of the system. Earlier we had talked about order of any system. Order was defined as and order can be defined for both open loop transfer function and closed loop transfer function. Okay, and this order of the system was the total number of poles of the system. So when we define order of the system, okay, when you have a transfer function, some transfer function, suppose this is s cube plus s square plus s plus 1, then for this we define that the total number of roots of the poles. So total number of poles of the system, it defined the order of the system. But when we talk about type of the system, type is the number of poles at origin. This is very important. At origin, only those number of poles will be defining the type of the system. For example, suppose if you have I'll take open loop transfer function. Suppose open loop transfer function for any system, it is given as 1 upon s plus 1. So here you can see that there is one pole at s is equal to 1 minus 1. So if you want to define type of the system as well as order of the system, if you want to find out, then what is type of the system? Total number of poles at the origin. Are there any poles at the origin, means are there any poles which are lying at s is equal to 0 in this transfer function? No. So type of the system, as no number of poles are there at the origin, type of the system will be equal to 0. But order of the system is what? Order of the system is the total number of poles in the system. Total number of poles कितने हैं? एक है, which is lying at s is equal to -1. Hence order of the system will be equal to 1. Let me again change it. Suppose this transfer function, open loop transfer function, it becomes 1 upon s into s plus 1. Now there are two poles in the system. One is at s is equal to 0, another s equal to -1. So type of the system, कितने नंबर ऑफ पोल्स है ओरिजिन पे? एक है. टाइप ऑफ द सिस्टम विल बी 1. ऑर्डर ऑफ द सिस्टम, देर आर 2 overall number of poles in the system, hence this is going to be equal to 2. Next, if I suppose again change it, I take it as s square plus 1. Now you can get type of the system will be 2, order of the system will be 3. Again, now suppose I take it as 1 by s cube. Now what? We have got 3 poles. All the 3 poles are lying at s is equal to 0. So the type of the system is going to be 3, as well as the order of the system is going to be 3. Okay. So this is how you define the type and order for any system. One more conclusion that you can make from here is that the type of the system, if you observe these, this was 0, it was 1, it was 1, it was 2. So type of the system, it can be less than order, or over here you can see that they have become equal. So it can be less than or equal to the order of any system, but it can never be greater than the order of the system. So this will always hold true. Okay. We had seen, we have studied about standard second order system. As we know what the standard second order system looks like, we will see what is the type of standard second order system. So for a standard second order system, we made the it like this. It had unity feedback and it had a forward gain, which was omega n square divided by s into s plus 2 zeta omega n. Here rs, this was cs. Okay, so it's a unity feedback system with gs as equal to this value. So open loop transfer function is what? It is multiplication of gs and hs, and if you write it, then h is equal to 1, hence open loop transfer function will be omega n square divided by s into s plus 2 zeta omega n. Now for open loop transfer function, you can define the order and type of the system. You can clearly see over here that there is one pole at s is equal to 0 and another pole at s is equal to minus 2 zeta omega n. Okay, hence the type of this standard second order system is actually 1, and the order of this open loop transfer function of the second order system, the order is equal to 2. Okay, so standard second order system, if someone asks you what is the type of standard order system, it's 1. What is the order of standard second order system? It's 2. Similarly, we can see for first order system also. The standard first order system we had seen, it was 1 divided by tau s. Okay, we define it as standard second order system. Here we have input rs, we have got output cs. So this is the forward gain path. So gs is actually equal to 1 divided by tau s. Type कितना हुआ? Type of the system 1. Order कितना हुआ? Order of the system also equal to 1. Okay, so this is how you define the type and order for any system. Okay, now one thing very important to note is that we want ultimately to find the steady state error. Okay, we want to find the steady state error for any system, and we define the steady state error or the type of the system. Okay, we define this only for unity feedback systems. You are going to define this only for unity feedback systems. That means you will say that this Hs value, it should be equal to 1. But if you are given any system whose feedback is not equal to 1, then what to do? Then simple, if it's not equal to 1, then you should convert it to unity feedback system, because many systems, it may look like type 0 system or type 1 system, but when you actually get the unity feedback system, then you find out that the type, it actually varies. So if you are given any system which is having some value of Hs other than 1, then in that case you have to convert that that system into a unity feedback system. For example, suppose we have got any system, I'm taking one example. We have got a system like 1 upon s into s plus 4, okay, and it has got a feedback, this is plus, this is minus, and it suppose has feedback of 1 upon s plus 3. Okay, this is the system. Here we have Rs, this is Cs. Okay, now you can clearly see that this is Gs, this is Hs, and Hs is not equal to 1 over here. So if it's not equal to 1, then convert it to 1. Okay, how can we convert any system which is not having unity feedback to become a unity feedback system? And what you can see from here also, that the type of the system, you can see that type is looking like type is equal to 1 for the system. So one easy way that you can do is just add feedback path to this system. Okay, just add one path with to the system. Okay, this may be positive, but this is not actually there in the original system. So what I'll do, I'll add another path to the system, unity feedback, which has the polarity of negative. So you know that if you have got two parallel paths which join at any summation point, one is at -1, another is +1, then the addition of two parallel paths, these can be added. So if -1 gets added with +1, the resultant is going to be equal to 0. So same thing will happen. I have added two feedback path, unity feedback path to this system. One is with positive polarity, another is with negative polarity. So ultimately they are not contributing to the system. The system is having this original construction only. But we are just doing this in order to have a unity feedback path in this system. So this is how the system is now looking like. Now what we can do, we can actually we have got this path, this is in feedback, okay, and then we have got this additional path with this one. So we'll add these two paths, we are going to add these two paths. So now my output is going to look like, this is Rs, okay, this is the summation point, forward gain path, it's 1 upon s into s plus 4, this is output is Cs. Now here you can see, if I add this and this is -1 upon s plus 3. If you add this with 1, then -1 upon s plus 3 plus 1. Okay, so you can have this polarity over here positive. If you take it as positive over here, then in that case you should take 1 minus 1 plus s 1 minus 1 upon s plus 3. But if I want to write as 1 upon s plus 3 minus 1, then I will just take the polarity over here, this should be equal to minus. Okay, I hope it's simple mathematics that we are doing. We are just taking minus sign from common from here, and we have taken it here. Okay, so this is the total value this is the result that we are getting for these two reverse path, feedback path. The third feedback path is already over here. Okay, so the third feedback path that we have, it's with negative sign, and this is of unity value. So this is the third unity feedback path. Now what you can do, you can solve for this loop. This loop's its transfer function will be what? This loop's transfer function is going to be gs. Gs is 1 upon s into s plus 4 divided by 1 plus, because I have taken minus over here, so it will be 1 plus gs. So again 1 upon s into s plus 4 multiplied by hs. So what is hs? 1 upon s plus 3 minus 1. This is the hs. So this we can now call it as g dash s. This is going to be g dash s, and with this g dash s we are going to have this unity feedback path. Okay, so now my system, it will look like we have the input rs, then we have summation point over here, and then the forward gain path is now actually equal to g dash s, and then we have the feedback path whose value is unity. Okay, so we get the unity feedback path over here. This is how, if you are given any system which is not having unity feedback path, then you just convert it to unity feedback path. This is how you can do it. And now you can find the type and error of the system. Okay, so actually the type of the system is important, because you will observe that for the same system with different inputs, if I take input some different input, if I take unit step input, then the error is going to be different. If I take unit ramp input, then for the same system the input will be different. So based on the type of the system, different errors you will be getting. So now we'll come to the point like how to find the steady state error of the system. So here we talked about the basic of steady state error and type of the system, order of the system, how do you define the steady state error, the expression for it. In the next lecture I'll be talking about finding out the steady state error for different types of system and for systems having different inputs. Then how do you find the steady state error for the system. Thank you for listening.